Take over, sir.
All right, good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of God be with all of you. I'm excited to be back in your class. I listened to all your comments, your feedback, your challenges, and I'm sure with time you will all get better with the concept we are teaching you. I'm going to do a quick recap of where we are and what we need to do tonight. So just give me a moment to share my second screen. Yes, this is the screen that I'm sharing. Yesterday, we talked about the game screen more. We all agreed we were going to create a Hawk game that will be a landscape game in terms of its layout. And when I say landscape, that means the horizontal dimension will be longer than the vertical dimension. So it will look like the shape of your laptop screen. But if you want to design the portrait kind of game, then that's the one that will look like the shape of your phone. And that means the height will be longer than the width of your game screen. So we decided to have a horizontal layout like this. And I told you the left-hand extreme side is the location where X has a minimum value. And the right-hand extreme side is where X has the maximum value. And if you think vertically, the topmost layer is where Y has the lowest value, which is 0. And the lower band of the screen is where the Y value is maximum. So when you are moving on the vertical axis and you are going towards the top of the screen, the value of Y is reducing. And when you move in the reverse direction and you are going towards the bottom of the game window, the value of Y is increasing. If you flip to the horizontal axis, the closer you are to the left border, the lower the value of X. That means the value of X will be reducing and the lowest there is 0. And if you move towards the right-hand side of the screen, the value of X will be increasing until it gets to the maximum. After this, we talked about where we were going to place our orc. Maybe I should maximize this a bit. Hold on a second. Yes. We discussed where we want to place our orc. We said our orc will start somewhere in the middle and we should be able to move it up, down, left, and right. And we discussed all the elements involved when it gets to the extreme right or the extreme left or the extreme top or the extreme bottom sides of our screen. And at the end of the day, we succeeded in giving orc a good appearance on the screen and it can move around. Maybe we can improve on its speed later, but at least we placed orc there. Then we said orc cannot be on the game console alone. It needs something else to stay there with him. So we started bringing a fireball to be the enemy. So the fireball can show up anywhere, but at the initial stage, we said it should show up on the top left corner. And fireball is supposed to drop from the top of the screen towards the bottom. And the objective is for orc to try to escape being hit by fireball. And if he doesn't, the game should end. And then we should start thinking of what to do. So tonight, we will move one step further in this quest. And what we need to do is, I'll tell you what I did overnight. I changed the picture of the orc that we had last night to a different one. And let me even show you what it looks like. Hold on a second. Yeah. This is my screen. If I run my game, this is the new orc that I'm using. Okay. You'll see that it's more beautiful than the previous one.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And it looks, yeah, it looks action-packed. So I love him, and that's why I brought him here. I'll probably share I'll look for the icon on the internet, sorry, the link to it on the net, and then show you where I got that picture from. So that's the orc that I introduced into my game. Every other thing should probably be the same. Then I got one more thing, the enemy that we want to use. Let me see, is it fireball? Okay, we wanted to use this and I said I didn't like it. Then I got this. I got this from the internet, and it is the one that, yeah, it looks nice. This is the one that I plan to use tonight. And I'll place it on the screen and we will all see it. Now, but while that is on the way, let me go back to my screen for a moment and tell us what we will be doing tonight. Now, tonight we will first have a discussion because now this is our game screen. No, this cannot be. That's like inappropriate. So let me draw it. At least something that looks straight. See my hand. Okay, just accept this as my game screen. So this is what we have as our game screen. And we want to plan our activities before we start writing code. That was exactly what I told you. Don't start life with just coding. We can plan on paper, and then when you start writing, it becomes a lot easier for you. So orc is somewhere here, flexing muzzle. I don't think that's orc, but this is where orc is at the moment. So I'll give him his name, orc. So he's there. And we know we have learned how to move him this way, move him this way, move him like this, or move him the reverse direction. We have achieved this. The next thing we want to do in my head is, let's bring in our fireball first around here. So this will be our fireball. You can search for whichever one you like. At least I found something that I love. And I made the size a little bit scary so that when Hawk sees it, he's going to panic a bit. So the objective is for the fireball to show up first at that spot. And if the plan is to hit our orc, it means the fireball will move in which direction? Can someone tell me? Will it be going up or left, down or right?
Down.
Down. All right.
Middle.
All right. So those who said it will go down, they are partially right. Those who said it will go to the middle, they are also partially right. And this is why those two groups exist. For this fireball to hit orc, because orc is at the middle of the screen.
Sideways.
Yeah, if the fireball continues to come down and it shows up on the top left corner, it will never hit the orc object. There would never be that collision. Now, if it continues to go sideways towards this direction, it will never hit orc.
Okay, then down and sideways.
Correct, Missy. So you get it. So if you have one object like this, because that's context number one, if you use just one fireball, you are using just one, and it shows up where it is, the first thing your fireball needs to think about before it starts moving is, where is orc? Once it knows where orc is, it will first move to the side, and then it starts coming downward towards orc. Okay, that's the easiest way to do this. Move right and then start coming down towards orc. And once orc says that, we expect him to go to the right or go to the left to escape the contact. Now, if he escapes the contact, what obviously happens is that your fireball will go off the screen. And when it goes off the screen, we expect another fireball to come out. When another one comes out, we do not expect it to come out from here. It becomes boring. We expect it to come out anywhere on this axis. So it will look like fireball is raining from the top. The next one may come out here, another one may come out here, another one may come out here, another one may come out here. So the position is going to be randomized. Okay, it will come out at random spots at the top of the screen. Now, I know we have not been trained on how random numbers work in Python. I'm going to show you that tonight so that your fireball object will not just be coming out at the top left corner all the time. So I'll show you how to randomize its position. Then I will show us how to move our fireball downward, especially in the direction of orc. And then orc has to find its way out of, our path. Otherwise, we burn him. Now, one thing that I'm also going to show us, well, that's going to be tomorrow, is how do you know when there is a collision involving the two shapes? And what do we do when that happens? There are a number of options available. You can bring in another object and make it show like an explosion. And the explosion will come with sound. And you can say the game ends at that spot. That is the simple concept that we want to go towards. But if it's a game of two similar objects that are, of equal strength, you can introduce element of score to the idea. Maybe any other time we are in the position to meet, I'll show us how you can program score. But we'll say, okay, if there is a contact, detect it, play a sound, and then end the program for us. You can even display a message, say game over, and then the player restarts. We'll see how much we can cover before we end our training. So this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is that you can decide on the number of enemies you want to create for orc right from the beginning. So instead of one fireball disappearing before another one appears, you can say, I want 3 fireballs, and they will be appearing at different instances. Yeah, you don't want all of them to appear together. So while he's running away from one, another one shows up on the screen. On top of him, he has to quickly escape, and then another one shows. That means the difficulty level of your game is going higher, and it becomes more interesting at that spot. So what I need you to do is, let's go one step at a time, and we gradually build our understanding towards this end game. But it's my duty to give you ideas of what is possible so that you open your mind and start thinking. So for tonight, we will keep it simple. We will bring in one fireball and then move it to the right or to the left. And then we already know how to move orc. It's just the fireball alone that we need to move. So we need to learn that, and then we'll have fun as much as we've always had. One thing again that I need to mention to you is, you as the player, you are in control of movement of orc. the program is in control of the movement of the fireball. So it's not like I am playing against you and I'm the one controlling the fireball. That's not the way it works. The fireball is going to be controlled by your code. So you are playing against the computer. And if you win, good luck. If you don't, good luck. This is what we want to do tonight. And let's see how much fun we can have. So I need to move off this screen and go to our program environment to show us what we have to do. So this is the object that I want to use as my enemy. And the shape of it is 205 by 205. So it's a square. You can even see the, the borders. It's a square. Now, I chose this because when you look at it versus my orc.png, it looks somewhat smaller. My orc is 360 by 507 in terms of its dimension. But at least if this shape is drifting towards orc will feel it and it won't be disproportionate on your screen. I would have loved a scenario where we have multiple shapes of orc that we can flip around to animate things like if the fireball is coming towards orc and he wants to hit it, we can change the orientation of, this right hand or the left hand or the leg, but that's at an advanced level. You will learn that much later when we meet maybe another holiday. So these are the two objects that I want to play with now. Let's see what that will look like. So we stopped using this. Even the color doesn't really rhyme with the idea. So this is my game as it is. I can run it and show you. Let me take the sound away for now to avoid distraction. So when I run this, it brings orc onto the screen for me. Beautiful, well blended. All right, good. Orc is there. I need to bring, this is orc here. This is everything about him. Okay. So I need to bring someone else onto the screen. And that someone else is going to be the enemy. So I can say create enemy. Okay. In form of a fireball. Yeah. Just a single line. So I'll call it enemy. Enemy. And it will be created by saying Pygame dot image dot load. And this is going to be my fireball 2, this one. So when you get here, just select the name and press tab. So you don't have to type all the way. So when you do that, fireball 2 has been created as an image. Okay. But because it is there as an image does not mean if you run the program now, we will see it. No, we won't. So remember what I said. I said we need to make our users see the object. So we will come down here and say add fireball to the screen. And the screen is screen.lit. This time around, we are bringing enemy onto the screen. But what is the dimension that we want to use? Where exactly do we want to place our enemy? So let's say for now, we always joke with 0, 0 as the, okay. I even had this comment here. Look at me. So we'll put it as 0, 0 for now. And let's go back up there to check if it's coming up there. Awesome. Awesome. So our fireball is showing up at 0.00. And later we want to see how we can move it downward or sideways and then let it fall on this naughty guy here. All right, so that's fine. Noted. Now, for us to know where that enemy is, I don't like using 0, 0 here. I prefer to use variables like x or y. So I need something like enemy x, enemy y. And that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to use a single variable that contains the two parameters instead of using x or y, which is good. We are showing you another option. So this is my enemy. And then I'll say get enemy location. Okay. So to get enemy location, I'll need a variable called enemy location. Not location. Yeah, so this is it. So this variable is going to get its value from enemy itself. And enemy has a method called getRectangle. Remember, when you look at the shape again, I'll take you back to the program when it is running. When you look at the object, the fireball, you can see that it has an edge. This is the right side, this is the lower side, this is the left, and this is the top. So it is in a square. Our orc is also in a square. The reason why we're not seeing it is because they produce this to be on a transparent background. So the edges are not appearing on this game screen. Unlike this one with the not so good finishing, but it's impressive. Yeah, it's not so perfect. That's why we can notice the sharp edge. So in your mind, you should always see every object as sitting in a rectangle. And whether the rectangle is vertical or horizontal or it's a square, there is always a rectangle around every object. And when you move the object around, you are implicitly moving the rectangle. It's the rectangle that you are moving. And once you move the rectangle that contains the object automatically moves around. And to further demonstrate that to you, when you try to move orc, you always check his height, you check his left, you check his right. How do you find out that? You see that the value around here for the left cannot be the same as value around his leg, his right leg for the left, because the leg protrudes or it extends more outward than the back or the shoulder. But then if you use the approximate geometry of the imaginary rectangle around him, he is always contained inside that box. And you can use that box as the basis for saying, I'm moving orc around. So have that at the back of your mind. So this is our object. It is coming out nicely there. Now, I haven't done this. This variable that you have, enemy location, if you print it out now, let's say print enemy location, you should see a value that is like your tuple. So what I'm going to do is I'll come down here where I used this. Yeah, you see something like this. Enemy location. So let's run this. We run our program. This one comes out and you see the results on the lower side. Yeah. It says our object, our rectangle, the rectangle for that fireball is at 0.00, and the dimension of the object itself is 205 by 205 because it's a square. Okay, but the current location is 0, 0. The first 0 there stands for the x coordinate, and the y coordinate is the second 0. So that's the top left corner there. That's the starting point. Now, because the object has its height, even if you don't know what the height is, there is a way I can program it and show you if you do not know how to check the resolution. So what you do is, the same thing can be done for orc, but we're doing this for the enemy. You can come in here and say print enemy dot get height. Yes, you can do this. And this will be, you can just come around and say height. Yeah. In fact, you can go as far as saying enemy height. That line there will give you enemy height. And if you want to know the width of the enemy, this will be get width. All right. So if we run this code, we will see the result there. So you can see enemy height 205, enemy width 205. And you can do the same thing for your orc. It's really unimportant to us here. But then these are methods that you need to have at the back of your mind. So if I want to know the X and Y values in terms of the coordinates of that object, let me do 2 more lines. Enemy X, enemy Y. How do we get the results? I've overwritten. Okay, so let's do this. I was supposed to paste another one here. Correct. So this is enemy X, enemy Y. Here I won't come and say enemy dot get X. No, I won't do that. What I will do, there are 2 ways of doing it. I can just say enemy location, the first value there. That's one option. I can come in and say enemy location, the second value there. That's one way of doing this. And it will work because we are using this variable enemy location. Another option is, instead of creating a variable enemy location, once we know the enemy, we can use the getRect method and get the X and Y straight away without passing through enemy location variable. And that will look like this. I can make a copy of this and paste this here. This is a form of digression, but it's necessary. So I can come in and say enemy dot get rect. Okay, and I'll say dot x. This will give me the x value. And if I go to the lower side and say enemy dot get rect, go outside this parenthesis, this will give me the y value. This is another method of doing the same thing that I have done on lines 48 and 49. So when you run this, you see your result is 0, 0, 0, 0, because that's where that object is at the moment. Okay, so these are just for your optics. We really don't need many of these per se. Knowing the enemy location is good enough for us. So I will block all these guys. I'll go up, code, comment all this out. Okay, so that's the automatic way, or a faster way of commenting multiple lines with this. So I've commented them out and I have my enemy location. So I need this enemy location to always come close to where orc is. Remember, when both of them come out, they are coming out at 2 different ends. So if Orc stays where he is, that fireball will never hit him and it will be fine. But then before we even start chasing him around, let's move our fireball first. That should change the energy level in the room. Okay, so it means that for it to happen, remember what you told me in our previous discussion. In fact, let me go back to it. You told me here that for the fireball, which is here, to catch Hulk, I need two forms of movement. I need to be able to move laterally, which is horizontal movement. It can be to the right, it can be to the left. And I also need to move vertically. So meaning that I will have two directions in which I can move. And that also means that I will have two speed values. I can move at a particular speed on the x-axis if I'm going on the x-axis. And there will be instances when I also need to just stay on my x-axis and keep moving on my y-axis, which is to come down. Yeah, if I want to combine both at the same time, it means my object will move diagonally. If you move on the x and y at the same time, the object will move diagonally. There may be instances when you do that, depending on how exciting you want your program to be. I will demonstrate these three scenarios to us. How you move the fireball exclusively on the horizontal axis, exclusively on the vertical axis. And when you combine both, how that gives you an angular movement. And you need that because there will be instances when you may be designing games where things will move like this, hit the wall, go up, hit the wall, go here, hit the wall, come back, hit the wall, and it will just keep, hitting walls up and down like that. If that's an idea, you won't come around and say, oh, I was not taught how to move the object diagonally. You will see that in a moment. Okay, so I come back here and then I start defining two directions or two speed elements that we need. So the first speed element, all of these are comments. So let me find a way of, okay, let them stay where they are. They are not disturbing me. So I'll come around and say enemy velocity. Velocity already suggests a direction. So I will need to give it my own descriptive name so that I will know the direction in which my enemy object is moving. So I'll say enemy velocity x. That's when it is moving on the horizontal axis. For now, we'll call it 0. Enemy velocity y. That's when it is moving vertically. We will call it 0. Now it's yelling at me here to change the casing. Yeah. All right, fine. So I have these two values here, and this is simple. Now, I haven't done this. If I run my program, nothing is still happening. My enemy object is still staying where it is. So how do we move it around? Remember what we said when we were doing our training. You can write your code and check the key movement. But this time around, we agreed you are not the one moving the enemy. The enemy is moving itself. So you do not need any key to move that enemy object around at all. So we want it to move on its own. So we need to create a function to handle that. And you remember the way to create function? You say you put def to define it. And you can say move. Look at me. So say def, say move enemy. And then just say pass. Okay. Now, I put pass there because I have not defined what the content will be. But at least that's the function. It is sitting down there. And I can come back into the game loop down here where the real thing is happening. And I can say, okay, here, animate enemy. I can put move enemy here. If I put move enemy here and I run the code, nothing will happen. Okay, nothing is happening because we have actually not implemented the logic of moving it. But we've said in a way, okay, we want you to move. That's what we mean by move enemy. But how it will move, we are yet to state it for it. So look at what I'm going to do here. Our enemy is supposed to drop vertically, okay? And it has a vertical velocity, which is enemy velocity y. In fact, you can define it as horizontal velocity or vertical velocity. You should know what x and y, means. That's what I mean here. So maybe that one will be interesting. Enemy horizontal velocity. So you will take x away. Then here you take y away and you say enemy vertical velocity. Yeah, both of them are 0. So let's change the values to 1 just to see what will happen. 1, 1 for both of them. So when I get to move enemy, we want our object, our enemy fireball to go down. That's what we want. And that means that we are increasing its y value. That's what it means. If you go back to this, if an object is dropping down like this, from what I told you here, if an object is dropping down from the top to the bottom, the y value is increasing. It means you have to keep adding something to the y value. So we need to know the y value and we'll be adding something to it. So the y value of that our enemy is something that has been kept inside enemy location. Because we said enemy location has 2 components to it. And the y component is the one that is 1. Okay? This is the y component. So we'll say this is going to be equal to its original value plus enemy vertical velocity. Enemy vertical velocity. And that's it. That's all you need to do to move that object down in a systematic manner. So when we run this now, we'll see. You can see it is gently coming down, 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 but it will never hit Orc at that speed that it's currently moving at, okay? Then it goes down. We can go ahead and program that when it goes out like this, it should reappear maybe from the top at another X coordinate, not necessarily from the original 0, 0 coordinate that it started from. So if it is moving at that speed, Orc can as well just be dancing where it is, because or where he is, nobody is going to threaten him. So what do you think I can do to make our fireball move faster? Any idea from anyone?
Change the increase.
Increase the
Increase the
velocity.
velocity.
So if I increase the vertical, is it the vertical velocity or the horizontal velocity? Which of them? Someone should.
Vertical.
All right. So what should I increase it to?
Then,
Someone wants to fly. Okay, see what 10 looks like. That's beautiful. Okay.
so it's better so it can be hard.
Okay. No, but one thing you need to be mindful of, let me say why you're saying this is, remember we gave Orc the ability to, Orc can move.
Vertical velocity, sir.
Yeah, so Orc can move at level 10 in terms of its speed. So if the enemy is also moving at 10, then there is going to be, anyway, don't let me say there'll be trouble. It becomes more exciting for you because what it means is, look at this again. The enemy is coming down. See how much ground Hawk can cover at a given point. And then it can also move this way. So maybe we give Hawk a faster speed so that the enemy doesn't have too much advantage over it. So I can use 15. So that's one way of move enemy vertically. I want to change that. Okay, vertically. That's the name of the function. And I'll come in here and update it. So I've given you an idea of how to move the enemy vertically. If I want to move the enemy horizontally, I can also go in here, make a copy of this, define. I'll move both of them this way. I'll create space like this and say move the enemy horizontally. But that'll be capital H. And then this one will be move enemy diagonally. Diagonally. All right, fine. So if we want to move the enemy horizontally, what will be the correct expression on line 64? Can someone tell me? Can someone tell me what the correct expression on line 64 should be? Okay, where you're thinking, let me help you out. When we were moving vertically, we moved on this vertical axis. That's the y-axis. When you are moving horizontally, it will be this figure there. This is the x component. And then we will change this to enemy horizontal velocity, not the vertical velocity. It's going to be the horizontal velocity. And when we want to execute it down here, we will copy this or kick this away. For now, we'll say move enemy horizontally. That's what we want to see being demonstrated. So this is the logic that we have written. If we run our script, I expect that guy to keep going to the right. And it will keep moving that way. When it gets to the end, it disappears. I'm sure all of you will be like, oh, wow, this is too slow. So why don't we increase the speed? I just want you to see it go out and then I'll stop the code. Then we'll go in and make some adjustment to it. So we can close the program and say, so what do we change? Our line 64 is okay. We don't need to change anything here. Rather, we will go up to where we define the velocity, just like you all told me earlier. We'll make it 10 pixel. And when you run this code again, then it will be faster. Hawk is in trouble now. Okay, so if he's somewhere up there, then there's something that is likely going to hit it. But I think that's way too scary. I'm sorry, I pity the guy. Even this speed 5.
Oh, let's do 15. No. 20. 9. Jesus.
20.
5 is even no, it's too fast.
It's too fast. That's the challenge. It's too fast. So I am inclined to go towards 3. And if you think you want to increase the speed later, you can also just come to line 55 and line 56 and make the change there. This looks slightly better. Okay, remember you are playing it from your keyboard and you are pressing right arrow, left arrow, down arrow. So you need to think about the ease of playing the game as well. If it's too fast, then it will become discouraging to the player. So that's the way to move it horizontally. Okay, at least in the most basic form. We can go as far as now saying, if it gets to the edge, do you want that fireball to bounce back and start, bouncing in the reverse direction? We can add that to it. We'll explore that as well. So let's now think about what the scenario will be if we want it to move diagonally. And that's the object coming straight like this towards Orc instead of going that way. So that will be the combination of what you have in def enemy, move enemy vertically, and move enemy horizontally. So we already defined as move enemy diagonally. I'll simply just copy this horizontal component and then add it to this one, and we'll see what this is going to look like for us. So I am moving vertically, at the same time I am moving horizontally. So let's go to our code down here and say, no, we're not moving horizontally anymore. Rather, we want to move diagonally. Let's see if we achieve our desired result. So if I click run, you can see the fireball, boom. That's what should happen. So you can see we have combined 2 velocity elements. In maths or further math, you say you are combining 2 vector elements. Yeah, thanks for that feedback. So as it was moving towards Orc, what Orc should do is to go. So you can see that I was running away from it by pressing my up and right arrow key. That is one way of programming this experience. So Orc can avoid the movement. So in your opinion, you can decide. I'm not here to tell you what you should do. You can decide on whether you want the enemy to move vertically, horizontally, or to move diagonally. They all have their pros and cons. If you move vertically,
Sir, can Hope punch the fireball?
we should be able to do that. I will think through that and then show you how Orc can spin and punch the fireball. Yeah, I mentioned it at the beginning that should be our final goal. If we can get more pictures of Orc, and then we'll see how we can transform it so that it can punch the fireball and the fireball will go in the direction of the punch. That makes it more exciting, for everyone. So we have seen vertical movement, horizontal movement, and diagonal movement. Okay, so let's try to add more flesh to this. Remember, I said something about the objects coming out at random positions. Okay, rather than my object coming out on the top, let me go back now and remove this. The demo is done. If we focus on just move enemy vertically, just that component alone. If I want the object to show up on my screen, and instead of coming out on the top left corner, I want it to come out on top of Orc straight away, on top of Orc here. What do you think I need to do? Can someone help me?
So sorry, please can you repeat the question again?
Now, when the fireball came out, it came out on the top left corner of the screen, like here. Just hold on. When we run this is where the fireball comes out. So someone like you, creative minds like you, will ask, why is the fireball coming out there if the target is hawk? Why is the fireball not coming out directly on top of hawk? Because if fireball comes out where it has done, then hawk doesn't need to move around because the fireball will never hit it. So how do we make sure that when the fireball comes out, it will always check where hawk is before appearing? That makes the game more exciting. Or what do you think?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So how do we tell the fireball that look for hawk before you come out and go exactly to where hawk is? That's the question. So let me teach you how that works. Because you'll be wondering, well, this thing doesn't have eyes, so how will it go and detect where hawk is? It actually does have eyes. Let's go and go to our scoreboard or our magic board here to show us the way it works. So I have my pen again. So this is the screen. Hawk can be anywhere on this axis. Okay, it can be anywhere on this axis. This is your horizontal axis. Because you are dropping from the top here, you want the fireball to drop from the top. So your focus is not going to be where hawk is on the vertical axis. That's not your focus. Your focus rather is where is hawk on this horizontal axis. Assume that you are here with your gun and you want to shoot downward. So you must know where your target is. So that target is going to be the X component of hawk, not his Y component. Remember, hawk came out at the middle. And if this is the middle, you need something to count from here and go all the way to this place, because hawk is in a box, an imaginary box. So you want to know the distance between that imaginary box, this edge, and this part. Very important. Once you know that, you can now divide the width of hawk into two. Because X, when I'm saying X, okay, let me call it W. Hawk has a width. I don't want my object to come out and it is coming towards the edge of hawk. That's what is X is giving me. I want the object to come directly on top of him, which is like you are attacking his center. So for me to get a center, I must first know the distance to his left, which is X. Then I must know half of the size of the hawk object. Okay, that gives me hawk center. Then I will add the two together. And that's what I will set as the start position for my own fireball. Method number one. Method number two is, I may not even stress myself to do all this mathematics. I'll just say, hey, hang on a second. What I am adding is not a pin that will come in like this. It's a big object on its own. It's also going to occupy space like this. So let me align the X values of my fireball to the X value of orc, and my fireball will come almost directly on top of orc. That is another strategy. So how does this play out in coding environment? Let's see quickly. Hold on a second. My screen should not freeze. Yeah, keep this. Yeah, so we'll go back to our code. So we have seen orc. Yeah, here we are, enemy location. So we know orc is here. This is his own X. That is where it starts from. And this is his Y. And we say we are not interested in his Y. So when we get enemy location, it's going to be 0, 0 by default. I do not want, so I'll put a comment here and say, make fireball appear on top of orc. Okay, even if this is a comment. So this is what I want to do. So I'll say enemy location, the X component of it. The X component of enemy location, set it to the X value of orc. That is all I need to do. Once I write that line 45, our enemy will appear directly on top of orc. It will appear directly, not exactly the same. Sorry, Abraham, you can mute your, yeah. So it's not falling directly on top of orc because of what I told you here. The dimension of both are different. Orc is way bigger than the object. Okay, and that's why the object appears to be on top of orc to some extent, not directly. If they were of the same size, it would have been directly on top of orc. And that was the mathematics I was trying to do here, that you may use the left, which is the approach that we have adopted, or you can say, I want more than the left. I want to find the middle of orc and drop that object there. But that's something you can practice in your spare time. And you see now that, fireball on top of orc, we're in soup. So if I add one more bit to this, it gets more exciting. I'm looking at my time. We already programmed the movement, so I can say, allow this object move vertically. Currently, it wasn't moving vertically. That's why it was static. So if I say, move him to the top of orc, this is the instruction. Where is it? Yeah, move him to the top of orc and then allow him to move. You'll see this. Boom. So this is the movement for now. So if it is coming back, I have to find a way of moving my orc away. No way. Go, 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 go. We are fine. All right. And now it gets more interesting. When fireball can drop this way, in your mind, you're already thinking, I need more fireballs. One is not enough. Can I do it such that another fireball comes out exactly where he is? Or when that former one disappears, it should reappear directly on top of orc here. It depends on what you want. Even from the beginning, you can add more fireballs to your screen, but I think that first idea is nice. We can explore it. We can say when that object goes out of screen and it is reappearing, it should reappear directly on top of orc, and then orc has to move away. But it will get to a point where orc is moving faster than the fireball is dropping. So as orc is moving faster, we will drop another fireball, and it has to move much faster on the horizontal axis. That is the next step that we will get into tomorrow, God's willing. But for tonight, I've been able to show you how to bring in your enemy object onto the screen, how to move it vertically, horizontally, diagonally, and how to make it align with the object that you are trying to target. And you can also set the speed at which your enemy object is moving on the screen. And of course, you have a better understanding of the mathematics or the geometry of the game console. So tomorrow, all things being equal, I'll show us how that object can reappear on top of Orc, and I'll equally add one more element to it. When Orc is moving too fast for that object, another object should appear so that 2, 3 balls can appear randomly from the top, and Hawk has a bigger task to perform in escaping. So I want to keep the video short for the benefit of those who weren't here yesterday. They can go watch what we did yesterday, and they can equally watch what we have done tonight so that we can all be on the same page when we meet tomorrow. This is my story for tonight. I hope you find it exciting. I yield the floor back to our chairman. May the peace and blessings of God be with all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, so well, kids.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, thank you, Uncle. I mean, that was a nice one. And as usual, we want to thank you and appreciate you. Okay. So kids, I want to ask you a question. The fireball, does it have eyes or not? Who can answer that
Does it have
question?
eyes?
Eyes.
It does
It
not.
does.
I-U-S.
It
Eh?
does.
It does.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
Sir,
That's-
it doesn't.
that is exciting. So it's good to know that you have followed class. I picked that in class and I told myself I'm going to ask you to know if you guys are actually listening. Okay, so fine. Now, were you watching film or you were programming? Because while listening to Uncle, I could not determine whether I'm watching a film or I'm in a programming class. So, Abdullah Tijani, were you watching a film or you were programming? You were doing programming.
No, just listening in the class.
You said,
I was just listening in class. I wasn't even programming because I'm having challenges in studying my Pygame for some while.
you what?
I'm having challenges in studying my Pygame for some while.
So, did you tell Uncle, did you call him outside class
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and still difficult for you to do?
Yes, sir.
So try and find time to call out to Uncle tomorrow, okay?
Okay, sir.
Now you can see that you are missing. Okay. So Abdul Wahid Muhammad, were you watching a film? As in, was it like a film to you, or it was a programming class? Abdurrahman, are you there? I think you are still trying to get your mic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, did you get what? Did you get the points Uncle raised this evening?
Yes,
Or you
sir.
were just you were just watching the. So how do you make Hawk move away from fireballs? Can you remember what you will do to make
By using the left key, right key, up key, and down key.
Okay. Okay. Alabi Abdurrahman, are you there?
Sir?
How are you?
Fine,
Were you in
sir.
class? Were you in class?
It's the same person, sir.
Did you remember how?
Yeah, he
Did
said
you
it's the same
remember
person.
how?
He joined with two different lines.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did you okay? Do you still remember how you have to make fireballs to catch up with Hawk so that it will drop on his head?
By making the speed faster. And
By making the okay.
and making it appear in front of Hulk. Directly
So what will you do?
over Hulk.
What will you do to do that? What will you do? How will you achieve that?
Sir?
How will you achieve that?
By doing what Uncle 55.
By doing
By making the same axis.
okay.
By making the same axis. The fireball the same as the axis as of Hawk.
The X
And making the speed faster.
Yeah, good.
Velocity.
The x-axis of the Hulk and fireball objects must align.
Okay. Okay. So will you watch the film after this before tomorrow so that at least you know what to do precisely? When you watch the first time or you listen to the class the first time, your understanding will be like you have an idea. So knowing is when you watch it. So it is difficult for you to know the first time. You can know like you have an idea, but you really know you have to watch it. Okay. So you promise me you are going to watch this again before tomorrow. Am I right?
Inshallah.
Alan. So did you get the class today?
Yes,
Inshallah, sir.
What of the fact that you were not in class yesterday?
I'm watching all the videos right now. And I'm also listening.
So I'm going to come with your question tomorrow. Let me allow you watch it. That's good. Abdurrahman, how are you? Alabi, okay. Now, Miriam, how are you?
Fine.
Okay, tell me what you learned today. The most significant, what is most striking for you today?
So what I learned today is how to randomize and make an enemy object follow the object you are controlling. Not only that, but I learned about hitboxes today.
Oh, I'm lost. Okay.
Now she's using technical.
Squares and rectangles. Hitboxes are the squares and rectangles around the picture. That if another rectangle should touch that rectangle, it will interact with that object.
Okay.
You have a good programmer in-house.
So these technical languages, I cannot ask you for that question. Let me just quickly, like Hawk, run away from fireball.
Yeah.
Mohammed, how are you? Are you there? Okay. While you are still struggling with your mic, let me go to Peace, Samuel, and Emisi. So, Peace, Samuel, and Emisi, things you learned today. Who go first?
So we learned how to create the fireball, then how to make it attack Hulk and kill him.
Okay.
How to increase the velocity, the X and Y axis.
Okay. Now, can I say that you have to make sure that you know this fireball, how to do this fireball till Christmas, because I'm not going to be knockout this year. Since I have some whiz kids that can help me to come up with fireballs. So how do you create fireballs?
Mr. Ibrahim.
Yes.
What
So,
is
is it possible for you to post the video immediately after the class?
Yes, I'll do that. It will take
Okay, so thank you.
it will take like 10 minutes. Yeah.
So?
It will take like 10 minutes after
in 10 minutes time. So Waris and somebody, I can't remember who the person is. I think Mohammed. Away from their mic. Okay, so I'm excited that you followed the class, guys. But I want you to go and watch the video and come early tomorrow so that we can, I can engage you before the class starts. Okay. We are beginning to see these kids here, but we want you to have the mastery of what you have learned and then be able to continue in excitement after we must have closed the we would have closed the training. Okay, so and those lectures are still there for you. There are so many lectures on YouTube, but the one you were part of will always be special. So whatever you want to learn further, start with this. Okay, guys, start with this. When you remember, it comes with memories, questions people asked, and so on and so forth. So that makes it special for you. And that will make you to also learn faster other videos that you may want to watch online on YouTube and so on and so forth. So we call it a date. It's been wonderful. And we say a big thank you to our uncle. Will everybody off their mic and say thank you, uncle?
Hold on
after
before
my
they do
three.
that, sir. Sir, before they do that, let me give them something to keep their brain busy all through the night. Please watch this. I made a slight adjustment to the script we wrote together and see what your game will look like tomorrow. Nothing special. The object is just dropping. You've talked about that, but see what happens next.
Fantastic.
So you can see the position.
So we're going to start tomorrow.
The position of the object is now different. It can drop from multiple spots. It will change another location. It disappears, another one reappears elsewhere, and it's just moving that way. Just one object, and you can make it multiple objects, but one object like this is fair enough. Tomorrow, I will show you what I did, and then we'll play around with other options as well. The floor is yours.
Tomorrow, I'm going to start by asking you, what do you think Uncle did? So study this new algorithm, and tomorrow, that's where we're going to start. So off your mic, everybody. After three, we all say, thank you, uncle. Okay? Thank you for huffing the mic, or take unmuting. Thank you for unmuting. Thank you. Who else has unmuted? So let's unmute our mic. Okay, Muhammad Waris. See these guys that didn't when I was asking them questions. Thank you, Abdurrahman. Thank you, Tijani. Where is Miriam? Miriam, you have to take off. Okay, good. You are struggling with it. Okay, Alavi Abdurrahman, you have to unmute. Wahid, you have to unmute. Wahid, you have to unmute.
You want to say thank
Two,
you.
three. Thank you. Let's go again. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love you,
I
sir.
love you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I see you
Thank you,
tomorrow.
The auntie with the words. And Mike just came on and went off. Okay, so good night, everybody.